Welcome back. We begin now with the attack, a horrific attack at the Republican headquarters in North Carolina. The political office there firebombed overnight. The GOP saying an explosive device was thrown through a window. And on the side of the building, someone spray painted the words, "Nazi Republicans, leave town or else." This all happened last night there in North Carolina. The attack has been condemned, of course, by state officials as well as by Hillary Clinton. And moments ago, Donald Trump spoke out as well on Twitter, tweeting this. Animals representing Hillary Clinton and Dems in North Carolina just firebombed our office in Orange County because we are winning. He continued, all safe in Orange County, North Carolina, with you all the way. We'll never forget. Now we have to win. Proud of you. I want to make very clear, we do not know who is behind this attack. Authorities have not said who is behind the attack or if they have any leads right now. That is Donald Trump saying who he believes is behind the attack, but not saying where that information is from. Let's talk about the bigger picture here and the implications this rhetoric could have. With me now, CNN political commentator and former public policy director for Mitt Romney, Lanhee Chen, as well as Ron Brownstein, CNN senior political analyst and senior editor for The Atlantic. Let me pull up that first tweet again, if we could. Donald Trump is saying, animals representing Hillary Clinton and Dems in North Carolina just firebombed our office in Orange County because we are winning. Ron Brownstein.
Yeah. Well, look, it is of a piece with what we have seen from Donald Trump, especially in the last several weeks. I mean, kind of an extraordinary escalation of rhetoric in many different fronts, saying the election is rigged, immediately attributing this to Hillary Clinton supporters without evidence, other kind of conspiracy theories, kind of implying that Hillary Clinton was on drugs in the debate. Donald Trump, look, he is at a point in this race where he is struggling to get above 40% in the polls. And he is, by all of his actions, speaking more to that core than he is to voters beyond it. Because I think for a lot of voters beyond those who are in his inner circle, the most alienated, disaffected elements of the Republican coalition, I think a lot of this is going to seem not so much unshackled as unhinged. But there's no question this election is pulling at every seam in American life, and we are heading toward, a conclusion that is ominously divisive, really, in the way everyone is kind of oriented toward this campaign.
Just to be clear for our viewers, I mean, Lanhee, we haven't heard from the authorities who could be responsible for this. They haven't even said, as far as I know, that there are any leads at this point in time. If you go back about a month when those two homemade bombs, those pressure cooker bombs, went off in New York and New Jersey, Donald Trump was campaigning and he was making a stump speech in Colorado, I believe, and he came on stage and he said, look, a bomb just went off in New York City. At that point in time, the public didn't know, what it was, and it turned out to indeed be correct that it was a bomb. But he made that statement so quickly, and that concerns some people. Once again here, he's assigning blame to something that officials haven't yet put out there. Should that be of concern?
Yeah, I think, Poppy, there's two issues here. The first is that the world watches our presidential elections. They watch the way it's conducted. They watch how the candidates conduct themselves. And I think to a certain degree, this is the kind of rhetoric, this is the kind of jumping to conclusions that makes not just Americans nervous, but I think people around the world, when they watch this, get a little bit concerned as well. The other issue is just how we expect presidential candidates to comport themselves. There's a certain amount of sobriety that has to come with this process and a certain amount of waiting before you speak. And look, Donald Trump, part of the appeal of Trump, particularly to his supporters, has been that he is just willing to kind of speak off the cuff and say it like it is. But I think that in our politics and in our elections, we've come to expect our leaders to act responsibly. So I would hope that that would be the tone that would ultimately prevail, but that's not what we've seen in this cycle so far.
Also, let me show this to our viewers. Hillary Clinton tweeted this before Donald Trump blamed it on her supporters, saying, "The attack on the Orange County headquarters of NC GOP office is horrific and unacceptable. Very grateful that everyone is safe." When you look at this tied to the rhetoric that Donald Trump has been using, Ron Brownstein, of a rigged election, in a sense, they both go hand in hand, right? Because there's no evidence behind a rigged election. He didn't just say the media's bias. In a tweet today, he actually said there's rigging going on at the polls, at the polling sites. And then there's no evidence to this either.
Right, and you're having a growing list of Republican officials from Jeff Flake to Paul Ryan to the Republican Secretary of State in Ohio saying not only is this wrong, but it is dangerous rhetoric. Look, as I said, I mean, I think Lonnie had it right. I mean, for Donald Trump's supporters, you know, a big part of his appeal has been that he kind of violates all the norms of propriety. They believe the system is so diseased, that it is so failing to meet their needs, that they want someone who will come in and throw rocks through every window. The problem is that is somewhere south of 40% of the country, and consistently in polling, at least 60% of Americans have said they don't believe he has the temperament needed to succeed as president, and nearly 60% have said he is not qualified to be president. And that is the reality he faces, and I think everything that he is doing in this last few weeks says he has really kind of given up on persuading many of those dubious of his personal qualifications, and instead is trying to animate even more turnout from the disaffected voters at the core of his current coalition.
The issue is that he doesn't need the voters that he's speaking to with statements like this, Lanhee Chen. They're already on board. They're his loyalists. What he needs is others that he hasn't gotten on board yet. What does this do to get him that?
I don't know that it does very much. I mean, I think Donald Trump is clearly there's a base of people that are very supportive of him and will be supportive regardless. Some of the polling that's come out this weekend suggests that his support amongst Republicans may be softer than he originally thought. So part of this may be to animate more Republicans, but that's not enough, as Ron's alluded to get him across the finish line. He needs to be speaking to independent voters, and nothing we've seen in the last couple of weeks, whether it was all of the stuff about Bill Clinton's affairs, alleged assaults, none of that stuff appeals to the independent voter base that he might need to get him closer to 270 electoral votes. So it's a questionable strategy if the goal is to win this election, but he is clearly animating his supporters more and more and getting them lathered up, if you will, as we go forward.
And some people say the strategy is... Ron, I was just going to say, some people say the strategy perhaps is to depress voter turnout for Hillary Clinton and to depress it on that side, and you know, we'll see if that's part of the strategy. I want you both to
animated on his side, real quick. I mean, if you're part of the 60% who say he doesn't have the temperament, it's hard to identify anything that's come out of his mouth in the last 3 weeks that would persuade you that we were wrong. This is more about energizing the piece that he already has than it is about persuading those who are dubious.
Guys, stick around. I got to get a quick break in. Thank you very much. Coming up, you're going to join me again. We're going to talk about this WikiLeaks email dump, yet another one. Details from Hillary Clinton's campaign communications, these emails. What impact could they have on the race at this point? Also, what will it mean for the final presidential debate on Wednesday night? Stay with us. You're live in the CNN Newsroom.
It's simple supply and demand. More